Okay. Okay, thank you. Right, can you hear me? Yep.
Yes.
Hello.
Would it be you, Amy? Did we talk about this? Okay.
Are we good? Okay. Good evening. So I would like to call the meeting of the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee to order at 7 p.m. on Thursday, April 28th, 2022. And let's begin. I'll invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So we are starting off today. As part of our regional agreement, when we have an election, it says in our regional agreement that the school committee will tabulate the results and announce them. I have, and it's on your agenda from both the town of Hamilton and the town of Wenham. These are the certified results from both of our town clerks. And I am going to now read to you the vote totals. Okay, here we go. So David Polito received 879 votes in the town of Hamilton and 507 votes in Wenham, for a total of 1,386 votes. Courtney Ashwood received 611 votes in Hamilton, 338 votes in Wenham, for a total of 949 votes. David Frankel received 856 votes in Hamilton, 483 votes in Wenham, for a total of 1,339 votes. Amy Kuhnberger received 878 votes in Hamilton, 440 votes in Wenham, for a total of 1,318 votes. Lauren Lambert received 116 votes in Hamilton, 76 votes in Wenham, for a total of 192 votes. Brian Scudder received 628 votes in Hamilton, 332 votes in Wenham, for a total of 960 votes. Andrea Van Boven received 497 votes in Hamilton, 262 votes in Wenham, for a total of 759 votes. There were 193 blanks in Hamilton, 168 blanks in Wenham, for a total of 361. There was 1 write-in in Hamilton, 4 write-ins in Wenham, and a total of 5 write-ins altogether. Okay, given that information, the top 3 vote getters for the 3 spaces that we have are David Polito, David Frankel, and Amy Kuhnberger. And while it's technically speaking later on the agenda, I don't know why we did it that way, but I'd like to just officially welcome David and Amy to the committee. We're excited to have you here, and thank you for being willing to serve. And David, thank you for stepping into your 3rd term after already serving for 6 years on the committee. Excited?
I just saw that I was written in for the Board of Assessors also.
Oh! Excellent. All right, did you win that one?
Tied for 3rd. 16 other people.
All right. So welcome. Okay. We will start off with citizens' comments. We don't appear to have anyone in the room. Are there people on Zoom?
None.
Okay, then I'm not going to give my spiel about citizen comments.
All set,
So it looks like we don't have anybody who would like to comment. Okay.
Closing comments.
All right. So yeah, we'll close comments. Okay, as we have been doing, and it is my turn this time, we've been reviewing at each meeting a small portion of our protocols, just to remind us of what we've agreed to. So I'm going to read a little bit of that. As elected members of the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee, we, including the superintendent, accept the high honor and trust that has been placed in us to ensure that the students of the district receive the best education possible. To that end, we hereby commit to the following in the conduct of our business. Number 9, all members will maintain the confidentiality of privileged information and will respect the open meeting law. Okay. And we are just flying right along. All right, and now we have our student representative report.
Ryan? Share that one with me, Ryan.
Should be shared with you. I'm not sure if it says updates for school committee meeting is the name of it.
Let's see if we can search it. I don't have it. Oh, wait a minute. You're using the one Chris usually uses?
Yep.
Oh.
You good to go?
There you go. Sorry about that.
All right, so just here to present some updates from the schools in the district. So at the high school, 2 History Fair projects are moving on to nationals. Sophomore Ella Tran in the individual documentary category moved on The Boat People, Debate and Diplomacy During the Vietnamese Migration. And sophomores Jacob Hano, David Jung, and Jaden Wong for the group website category moved on Korean Armistice Agreement, the ceasefire that changed the course of the 2 Koreas. 6 students just returned from the National DECA competition in Atlanta. Hannah Sorello, Matilde Gordon, Ellie Holbrook, Caitlin Story, Julia Sappis, and Sophie Wilbur. 26 students attended the trip to Peru. It was a successful experience where they engaged in community service, cultural learning. They also went whitewater rafting, zip lining, and hiking. And you can see pictures of their trip on Instagram at HWMR Travels. The National Honor Society held their induction ceremony last night. 42 students were welcomed to the Honor Society. In other news, AP testing will begin next week from May 2nd to the 13th. Seniors have 14 days of class remaining. Senior seminars will take place on May 19th and the 20th, and senior final exams will take place the following week. Senior week begins May 31st, and it culminates in the graduation ceremony on June 4th. And the junior prom will take place tomorrow night at the Hellenic Center in Ipswich. In terms of athletics, spring sports are well into their regular season. The girls and boys tennis teams have a combined record of 13-1. The school just wrapped up their first esports season, which is new this year, and spring sports participation numbers are back to pre-COVID levels. At the middle school, MRMS has finished their ELA MCAS and will have math and 8th grade science tech MCAS in May. They have begun transition meetings with the elementary schools, and they are looking forward to many end-of-year activities, including field trips, guest speakers, a spring concert, the 8th grade dance, challenge day, and the filing out ceremony. And at Bucher, the Discovery Museum from Acton visited with a science program for the 5th graders. First and second graders went to the North Shore Music Theater for a performance of Frog and Toad. Science from Scientists visited the 4th and 5th grades, and Bucher will be holding ELA MCAS for grades 3 through 5. That is it for updates.
I think you're good, right? You all set?
Yep.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. I appreciate it. I know we all do. And I would just like to say I loved seeing all of those things that happened year after year after year and haven't happened recently. I loved hearing the kids went to the Frog and Toad at the North Shore Music Theater and at the proms tomorrow night. That's just fantastic. Thank you. It's important for us to remember, like, all of those things are coming back. Thank you. Okay. All right.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, next up is our consent agenda. Does anyone have anything from the consent agenda that they would like to hold? Anna?
I'd like to hold the minutes from April 7th, and I'd like to hold the donation.
Okay. Any other items that people would like to hold from the consent agenda? So for our new members, I'll just let you know that when we vote on the consent agenda, the reason we ask for holds in advance is once there's no debate or discussion on the consent agenda. So if you want to have a question or comment on anything, you want to hold it. Okay? Jen, I think we're ready.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as written, putting a hold on the minutes from April 7th and the Hamilton Wenham Youth Basketball Board donation.
Second?
Second by Anna Siedzik. All right, and there's no discussion. All those in favor? And that is unanimous, and the motion passes. Anna, let's start with the April 7th minutes.
Yep, no problem. So there is an error that I'd like to correct. So the part where Michelle Bailey made a comment about the statement from the Hamilton and Wenham Human Rights Municipal Bodies is erroneously stated came from the Hamilton Wenham Human Rights Coalition, for which I am the president, and this is incorrect. There was nothing from the coalition on this topic. I went back and listened to Michelle's comments just to make sure that she hadn't misspoken herself, and therefore the minutes would be accurate, but Michelle would have been wrong. But she, in fact, Michelle very clearly says the Hamilton Commission and the Wenham Committee. So I think it's important that the correct body is cited here. They're very specific bodies. So I want to remove the reference to the Hamilton Wenham Human Rights Coalition and have that replaced to be the Hamilton Human Rights Commission, as it's known in that body.
I just want to make sure I'm in the right place.
Yep.
We're in the middle of page 5, is that correct?
We are in the middle of page 5.
Okay.
And then in Wenham, the correct body would be the Town of Wenham Human Rights Committee. So that's sort of a change in the minutes. But then I also wanted to note, and I'm not sure what to do about this part, the minutes are correct in that at the time of the meeting, we believed that the statement had been removed from the Town of Wenham, but there was a little uncertainty about that. And Eric, I went back and checked today, and the statement that we were wondering about is in fact on the Town of Wenham webpage, right here. So I'm not sure. I know I went back and watched the meeting, and you thought it was not there, and I was like, I'm not sure if it's there. Let's look into it, and then we moved on. So it is on the Town of Wenham webpage. The statement is there now. So the minutes on that point are accurate. When we met, we did not believe that the statement was there, but in reality, the statement is there.
I'm open to other people's thoughts on that, but I do believe that the minutes reflect accurately the conversation that was, it's not important, but I actually do believe at one point it was removed. So it may have been.
It could have been. So yeah. So there's two parts there. So my first part is a true correction to cite the correct body as was accurate and as Michelle stated. But then I just want to let people know that the statement is there on the Town of Wenham website.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems to me like your corrections are regarding the wording of human rights.
Yeah, it's just identifying the correct body.
Okay. All right. Jen, do you feel like you have enough information to?
I just need the names of the two commissions that should be cited.
Right, so in the Town of Hamilton, it's known as the Town of Hamilton Human Rights Commission. And in Wenham, it's the Town of Wenham Human Rights Committee. And so those words should be spelled out, and then the abbreviation HWHRC, that should be struck or changed to be the two town bodies.
WHRC.
Should be removed.
Okay. I'm just going to look to the committee. Do we feel like that do we want to have these minutes come back, or do we trust that the secretary can make those changes and we can approve them?
We got it.
Okay, all right, all right. Can I have a motion then?
I move that we accept the April 7th minutes with the edits mentioned today.
Second?
Second.
Second by Anna Seizik. She was too quick, Julia.
She
All
is
right.
too quick.
Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous, and the motion passes. Anna, what did you want to talk about the donation?
I just wanted to say thank you to Hamilton Wenham Youth Basketball. This is a sizable donation. I'm not sure if we've ever, I think Little League was pretty big last year as well, but this is a significant contribution from one of our youth sports leagues for half the cost of the resurfacing, and I think it's important to really say thank you. It's a huge donation to the district, so.
Anything to get rid of that orange court.
What'd you say?
Bad. The court's orange. It hasn't been done in so long.
Yeah, right, it's been so long, it's literally orange.
Okay, all right, yes, so thank you. And can I have a motion on that, Jen?
I move that we accept the donation from the Hamilton Wenham Youth Basketball Board.
Second.
Second by Julia Campbell. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous, and the motion passes. Okay, all right, Tom, I think we are
Tom is
ready
on. Yep.
for you.
Thank you. I was just texting the treasurer for the youth basketball, so thank you for accepting that donation.
Excellent. Tom, I think I'm going to be able to hear you, but I'm not sure you're getting picked up on the mic.
Is that any better? That good?
Oh, he's turning it up a little bit. Okay. Can you give it a test, say something?
Hello, test.
That's good.
All right.
I think we can hear you. I just want to make sure they can hear you on the recording.
Sure.
.3057.
Three zero five.
Sorry. All right, thank you. I'm here to give you a briefing on the Cutler School project. First, before I got into the particulars, there are some new members. And for those at home that may be wondering, I'd like to start off and just give a quick briefing on what the MSBA is. So to simplify it, 6.25 is the sales tax in Massachusetts. 1 penny of that 6.25 cents per dollar spent goes into the school building authority's coffers. And that's what funds school construction projects throughout the state. In the past, the districts partnered with the MSBA to replace roofs, boilers, ventilation systems, and windows, and we've had great success with such. So brief history as it pertains to the Cutler School. We applied for the core program in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and all three of those statements of interest were not invited into the capital pipeline for the MSBA. However, in 2021, as most of you are aware, we were finally invited to the dance, which is very exciting. We are now in what's called the eligibility period, and that is where the district and the MSBA will work through a process to make sure that there's community readiness and the funding to proceed into what's called feasibility study, which is where base level construction documents are written. So I took MSBA's graphic of the eligibility period, which lasts 270 days and kicks off on May 2nd. And this lists all the tasks that are part of the eligibility period. And I placed our emblem as to be the "You Are Here." So we're right on the cusp of starting. We kick off on May 2nd. The school committee will partake in the first 2 deliverables. You'll see here that we have the initial compliance certification, which is make sure that the local governing authority, which is a school committee, has a full understanding of the process. In the exhibit, you'll find that I've linked both of these on this page. So you can click onto an example. It's going to look the same with the exception of enter school district name. It's going to say Hamilton Wenham Regional School District. And I have to get clarification, but we'll likely cite school district policies that reflect any building processes that we have, which there is policy on the books that we have right now. We'll also have to formulate a school building committee, and that's made up of various school officials, town officials, and community stakeholders. So the first deliverable is the ICC, which is the initial compliance certification. I believe that's on the agenda for the next meeting. I encourage everybody up here on the committee to read through the document as soon as you can. It's pretty lengthy. There's a lot of legalese in there. If you do have questions, please forward them to Superintendent Tracy or myself, and we'll make sure we get the answers so you're equipped well to vote. We have 30 days to submit this, so of course, time is of the essence. We have 60 days for the school committee to approve the school building committee. And this is a very short presentation, so I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Anna?
So the school building committee is going to be a committee designated by the school committee itself, so it's subject to open meeting law regulations and all that?
I'll let Superintendent Tracy field this, but I believe he's got a jump start on this process already.
So the school building committee makeup is given to us by the state.
Yep.
The minimum expectations. In our case, probably the May 5th meeting. Dana and I haven't nailed it down, but we need 2 members of the school committee to be on the school building committee. There'll be myself and Vinny, Tom, some teachers, the town manager, town administrator, and a rep from each of the FinComs, or at least a liaison from each of the FinComs, and then a couple of people from the community who have some upfront knowledge in large-scale building and construction. Mm-hmm. So that's generally the minimum that we have required from the state, but we can add to it if we need to. It's just the bigger the group, the harder it is to get some things done, having been through this in the past. But yeah. Most of it's prescribed. As you can see, Tom has it on the projection here.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I think the composition is great. My question is, if we're designating it, will it be subject to open meeting law? It's technically, is it considered a subcommittee of the committee, or is it?
No, because it's only 2 members.
Okay.
There's only, if we put 3 on, it'd be a subcommittee, so it's only 2 members.
Okay.
They're generally all public meetings, so they'll end up being posted.
They'll be being posted anyway. Okay. Yeah. I was just curious because I know that like the COVID committee last year was not technically a subcommittee of the committee, and the turf committee, I think. Like there's sort of a middle ground there. So this is in that middle ground. It's not technically a subcommittee.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
David, did you have a question?
Sorry, thank you. The question to Eric. Does the expert on large-scale construction have to be a current citizen of Hamilton and Wenham?
Have to be in one of the communities, yes.
Okay.
Are we going to seek out volunteers, or are you looking for?
So, Cardi, I reached out to the towns to get the first kind of layer done, and then Tom and Vinny and I kind of plugged in the holes of the people in the district that are on there, like myself, Tom, Vinny, and then town managers were asked to check in with their FinComs, and also asked especially where Joe has been here a little bit longer than everybody else, to let me know of any people in the community that have the expertise. So we'll send out an all-call through the towns. As you know, we don't have a town manager until May 23rd, and, excuse me, a town administrator until May 23rd in Wenham. So we're gonna have to wait for them to come on board. But we have plenty of time. We have 60 days from May 2nd.
If there are members of the community that we know of that have that background, would you like us to suggest them to you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's a volunteer slot, and it will go for a number of years, so just be sure people are aware of that. It is a long-term commitment.
It's also a good opportunity for our new school principal at the Cutler to come right into the project.
Don't tell her, she doesn't know that yet.
Do other people have questions?
Are we choosing who from the committee is going to be on this at the next meeting?
I think,
I think it's the
think we said
meeting
on
of the
the
19th. So next meeting, you'll vote on the first item that's attached to tonight's agenda.
Okay.
You'll vote on that. That's honestly a form you have to agree to move forward, and then Dana and I will sign it and submit it. So that's the kind of the easiest thing we'll have to do in this process. Then on the 19th, we'll do the building committee, and then at some point in the next 90 days, so in June, probably the end of June, we'll do the third part, which we've already started working on. It's a much more extensive look at both facilities, usage, rooms, square footage, and some details that the state would be looking for.
Thank you.
all right, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Next up is, I assume this is you, Eric, North
It's
Shore
me.
Education. Yeah.
Yes. So we are, for those who don't know, we are members of the North Shore Education Consortium. We have some of our students in their programs, and they're generally specialized programs. Some of them are specific to disabilities, and others are specific to addiction. So there are a number of programs that we can access as members of the consortium. Just like the rest of us, the consortium ran into some troubles with tuition freezes during COVID, not all their kids coming, so the expected tuitions were not being collected. So they were impacted, their bottom line was impacted. I am a member of this board, so from my perspective, this is an increase that's needed for them to meet their budget and balance their budget for us based on the number of students that we have. So we only have 7 students with them right now, so we fall into the lower category of $5,000. And as you can see, this is what the other communities will pay. Oh, I didn't, sorry. So the numbers that the other communities will pay are based on the number of students they have. So some of the bigger communities have a larger number of students involved. For us, it's a fairly small number, so our fee ranges to $5,000 max. This will help them to balance their budget. We do get a substantial savings by being a member, so this outlines the savings in the next page. Our savings for the 7 kids, if we were not members, we would spend $60,000 more annually to send our kids there. So the finance board for the consortium met. They came up with this solution. The entire board, of which I am a member, met and agreed unanimously to this bump in their budget to help them balance their budget. So we would, instead of our usual $5,000, we would pay $10,000 for the year, and they would be able to balance their budget. So it's something that the board of NEC, of which I am a member of, voted to approve earlier in April. It's an annual fee we pay anyway to them to be a member, if you will. So this was a way for them to balance out their budget and keep things moving forward for us.
And that's 5,000 total, not per pupil?
Nope,
correct?
total dollars, yeah.
Okay, but I'm actually a little confused. Are you saying it's going to be 10,000 this year? Is that what you're?
No, well, we paid 5,000 already at the beginning of the year, so we'll.
Membership fee.
It's a membership fee.
Right, no, I understand, but you're saying,
Yeah, so we'll pay a second 5,000,
right,
which
okay.
we actually have set aside, so.
okay.
Is this a one-time bump or is it permanent?
One time.
Okay.
One time, yep. And there was extensive conversation because every superintendent that represents these communities, we were in the meeting together, and some communities took a heavy hit unexpectedly, but everybody agreed that it was important to support NEC and what they're doing for our kids, because there are programs that we just don't have available for our kids, so. I just wanted to give you a heads up that we were, it's just a second assessment. We usually only get one, but this will be a one-time for this year, and then it goes back to the regular rate.
Do other people have questions? So I have one more question, which is, so we have, we're in the 0 to 9 rate,
Correct,
correct?
$5,000.
And this is, I guess I just want, so like next year, if we were to have 10 students, we would bump up automatically
Right.
to that. That's just.
Correct.
Okay.
So we budget a higher amount. We have more money, more than the initial 5,000 was already budgeted, so it's not anything we have to go hunt down. It's just, it's already there.
Right.
Because if we had 10 or 12 or 15 kids,
Right.
our assessment would have been higher initially. So we budget for, I think 10 kids, Vinnie told me, and then from that point, we would have to come back to the committee to move money, but we have money in that account to cover this.
Right. And the extra 5,000 is, I assume, being paid in this fiscal year?
Yes.
That's why we're doing it now?
Yes, that's why
Right.
we're bringing it forward now.
Okay.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see the enrollment numbers next year
It's going to be fascinating.
across the board.
Yep. They're anticipating big increases.
Okay. All right, I assume we need a vote? Yes? No?
I don't think so, because
Okay.
it's already accounted for.
All right. All right, thank you for that. I think I'm, next up, I hope that you all noticed this, so that you checked your calendars already, so that you're ready to have a good conversation about this, but Eric, do you want to speak to it?
Yes.
Or, go ahead.
So the memo that's in the exhibit is a request to move the June 2nd school committee meeting, 2022 school committee meeting, to Wednesday, June 1st. I did not make the original calendar, and I'm pretty sure the previous superintendent had no idea of what candlelight was, because we haven't done it in several years. But because candlelight is linked closely to graduation, the stages, the chairs, and everything are one unit, so we basically rent them and move them, and if we have to change the days, it gets much more expensive. So I'm just requesting that if possible to move the meeting from Thursday to Wednesday, and that way we can all go to candlelight together for the first time in 3 years.
Can I say, I love this, just because June 2nd, shameless plug, my daughter starring in Matilda at the community house. So I would have to have missed the June 2nd meeting anyway, and now we can all go to see Matilda, so.
Well, we're going to be at candlelight.
No,
Oh,
we could go on
right.
Thursday.
Oh, it's on Thursday. Yeah.
No, wait.
No.
Yeah, okay,
No, you're
well, we'll go
right.
to that, we'll go to Matilda and go to the candlelight.
But that's,
Yeah, it's later.
that's good. No, that's,
But that's just I
Yeah, no,
personally
that's good.
support it for that.
Candlelight
I
doesn't
was
start till
actually
8 o'clock.
really excited to see this. I was like,
Yeah, candlelight doesn't start till 8 o'clock, because they actually
perfect.
wait till it's dark, or close to dark anyway.
candlelight,
Thus the candles.
candlelight.
Yeah, so you'll be good. You'll be able to get there.
I will say, I will take some responsibility for the calendar, because I did know about candlelight, and I didn't catch it, so I'm sorry. All right, so, I mean, we're going to need to take a vote, but does anyone want to just share what they're thinking about switching it to June 1st? Are people,
I think it's a great idea.
great, okay, all right. I do think we do need to, I do think we should have an official vote. Go ahead, Jen.
I move that we move the Thursday, June 2nd meeting to Wednesday, June 1st.
Second.
Second by Julia Campbell. All right, is there further discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous, and the motion passes.
Thank you.
And Eric will definitely want to make sure that that gets out in the public, because that is a different,
Oh, in my letter tomorrow.
yeah, that is a different day, and where people are not used to having us meet
Yep.
on a Wednesday, so. Excellent. All right. I don't know that we have anything more from finance and operations.
Not this week, next week.
And I don't think we have anything from policy.
Nope.
Nope. All right, Eric, do you have anything on the superintendent report?
I do. I was glad that Ryan took some of mine, so I will avoid those. I kind of, one funny thing I do want to say, welcome home to Kevin Sano. She unfortunately had to stay
I know.
in Peru because she tested on the way out, so.
She's home now?
She's on her way.
Okay.
She's on her way. She texted me a little while
Oh,
ago.
good.
Going out with a bang.
Yeah, that's what we
I
said.
got that email and I
She just wanted
thought,
extra
oh my
days. but
God.
All right. Is she, I'm sorry, is she actually in the US somewhere?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not
She's
yet.
en route.
She's
Okay.
en route.
All right.
Yep, she was released this morning.
Excellent.
I'll start with our DEIB update. The advisory committee, they will meet on May 11th. That's their next meeting to review survey response data. There is a large amount of response data coming in, so it's taking some time to go through it. District trainers are preparing for workshops on refreshing our understanding of unconscious bias. The secondary one will be on 5/18. We did the elementary one yesterday. And we want to thank those trainers, Bucher School, Nicole Gray, Lisa Garrity, Cutler School, Ann Creelson, Liz Brown, Winthrop School, Brian Shekels, Miles River, Kaylee Mangiarelli, and Sarah DeCruz. And then at the high school, Heather Mays and Regis Shields, who helped her out. So we appreciate their time and efforts to get ready to do those trainings. Surveys have been completed for parents and caregivers, middle and high school students, staff, faculty and staff, administrators, and school committee. Survey data is currently being analyzed. As I said, there is a large amount of data. The student data alone is in the 600 student range, which is great. That's a good amount to have available. Student focus groups are currently being scheduled. The groups will take place on Zoom. Most will be scheduled during the student power block. So we'll mostly do the older kids to start it out. They're trying to review the data fast enough to be able to translate it back into focus groups to get some clarity on some of the responses. We also sent out high school student surveys. Those will go out, I think, tomorrow. We just sent the first round out to parents to see if kids are interested in joining a focus group. So there's a survey that went out to, there's a letter that went out to parents to opt their kids out if they wanted to. And then there's a second request for students who want to take part in the focus groups that will go out, and those will be on the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th of May. Then there will be a preliminary report on as much of the data as we have available at that time in June. We'll do that for the faculty and the school committee, and then we are really struggling to get adult focus groups together. It's just time is not there, so we're stretching this out a little bit further to make sure we get the data and run it through some of our focus groups. So we're looking at the final report of everything, probably not till the fall, just before school starts. So they're going to try and get it earlier, but there is a ton of data to sift through. Then the focus groups still explore some issues identified in the surveys in greater depth, provide context to individual issues, and begin to explore root causes of anything that might come up. And then at the Teaching and Learning, MTSS, elementary is chugging forward. They have 24 classroom teachers supported a field experience just prior to vacation to help us select high-quality core literacy resources for Tier 1 instruction. If you remember, we received a grant. Jen Clifford wrote a grant in like one night for $81,000 for K-2. We asked a bunch of teachers to pilot some of the materials, and we had 2 companies that were supported by DESE as research-based and acceptable, so we piloted 2 of those programs, and during the process, learned that we really wanted to use it with some of our older kids as well, so we did. Jen reached back out to the Department of Education and asked if we could have a bump in the grant. Department of Education agreed to pay for all of our materials up to $159,260. So those are all new materials coming in for literacy for K to 5 for all schools, so that everybody's on the same page doing the same thing. Amplify CKLA, which is the company that we ultimately went with. They were selected by our teachers. We'll implement that starting in the fall using the parameters of the grant, as well as our literacy instruction vision, the Reading League's curriculum evaluation tool, and the Institute of Education Sciences rubric for evaluating reading, language arts, and instruction materials. So there's a lot of review that will continue to go on as we go through this process, if you will. The state is just looking for some feedback, basically. So we'll work with the state closely and keep filling them in on how things are going. And then spring progress monitoring for students receiving literacy interventions was completed just prior to vacations, and our spring year-end assessments will begin in early May. So there's a lot going on. At the secondary level, the middle school is...
Can I interrupt and ask a quick question about when you said we got the new additional funding from DESE, I think you said up to $159,000, but is that still piloting 2 programs, K through 5, or that's for the...
It's for the materials for K
that
to
we're
5.
going to implement?
Yep,
the stuff that we're implementing.
they have basically allowed us to purchase all of the materials,
Great,
K to
okay.
5. So that's huge for us because we don't, as you'll see in my entry report coming out soon, that we don't have the same opportunities for kids in each of the schools. So this brings us light years in a very short amount of time. So thank you to Jen, and thank you to all the teachers. I mean, we asked for volunteers. 24 teachers stepped up and said, we will pilot this. We toured the schools and watched some of the pilots. It was great to see some of the activities, and even for me to learn about some of the different things that are being presented in these new research-based curriculum. And that's part of the push that DESE wants, is true research-based curriculum used in the classroom. So it's a good opportunity.
And you said Jen Clifford wrote that grant like overnight, like she did it?
We were given, I think, 2.5 weeks to write the grant and to come up with the parameters. And yes, she and her literacy team, they're the coaches, Rebecca Butler, who presented earlier in the year, and the coaches, they all worked to kind of put it all together. So
I think it's important to say, as someone else who's written grants, I know Julia's written grants, to have a grant like that come together with that level of success, I think it's good to publicly acknowledge that takes a lot of knowledge of our system and a lot of talent to pull that off. So kudos to Jen Clifford and the team, because that doesn't happen if you don't have a really competent person in that spot.
yeah. And the teachers were great. The teachers stepped right up. We expected maybe 10 or 12 teachers, 24 teachers. Like, I want to do this, I want to try this. So that says a lot too. And then they went through a full process of vetting and discussing and trying to come to some consensus, and they were able to pull this off in less than 8 weeks. So huge. Usually you get months to do this in schools, but they were able to pull it off.
A quick question. Would it be possible to get a copy of the survey questionnaire, just to get a sense of what you are surveying?
Which, sir?
The going back up one step behind you here.
David, I'm having trouble hearing you.
The family
Oh, yeah, the family survey, the one you were describing a few minutes ago.
Oh, for DEIB?
Yeah.
Oh, I can send that, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
It
great.
was sent out to everybody, but I can send it out.
I think it was sent out before David was
Yeah.
elected, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Secondary. The secondary is continuing to work on curriculum during the Wednesday time. MTSS team drafted tiered resource and asset maps identifying existing tier 1 through 3 supports in areas of literacy, numeracy, social emotional learning. And then the middle school's working with consultants, they have been for a couple of months now, to refine those documents and some of their data points, if you will, just to kind of hone in on what they're going to ultimately use. They are working with their 6th grade teachers on a 5th to 6th grade transition process. We have not had one and feel like it's an important endeavor. I want to thank our 6th grade teachers for jumping up and saying, yes, we'll help out, and putting together a nice first and second step to get this rolling forward. This is a good opportunity for us to share information. So kids are coming from 3 schools, actually more than 3 schools because they come from private schools as well, to our middle school, and it's a good opportunity for teachers to kind of sixth grade teachers to go to 5th grade teachers and have those discussions. So it'll be good for our our growth in that 5th and 6th grade transition. High school, they are continuing to do curriculum work. They phased out of their NEASC push, and they are now starting that process of the MTSS process. They are indexing their supports and starting to determine where they go in the tiers that they're, they're just determining what fits best in the tiers 1, 2, and 3. So they're kind of, as we plan, one step behind the middle school. Learning facilities, the athletic improvement project working group has completed an informative FAQ document. We converted it into a web page just recently. Tom spent some time on the vacation doing this. I will share the web address with all of you. I just wanted to make sure it was final before I sent it out, but I will share the web address. And then we will share it with the community. This will be the first step of really communicating with the community, the who, what, where, why, and how of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And this will begin the process, a multi-tiered process, if you will. The first process, getting the information out, helping people to understand it. Second process, we're going to come back here to make sure that everybody here is with us on in this project and kind of ready to move forward over, again, a number of years. And then that third part is, as you may know, there's a private group. They're going to push for private fundraising. So they're going to start that as well, start to reach out for donations for this project. Just before vacation, I met with, I had a call with both Rep. Belcito and Senator Tarr, and we talked about a whole number of things, but one of the things I asked them to research were some possibilities of state-based grants that might be able to be applied to this. As people might know, these field projects are not reimbursable by the state. We have to cover the whole cost, and we're running anywhere between the $9 and $12 million mark, I would guess. It's not don't take that as a final number, but years ago it was right around $9 million, and nothing's gotten cheaper. So the work is kind of, the preliminary work is done. Gail has done all their reassessments, and now we'll just that group will start to get the word out, which I think is important, to start to communicate that word. And then Tom is also working on sustainable waste management practices across our schools. He and I have talked a lot about it. In fact, it was one of the first conversations I had with a TA at the Bucher about waste and how we manage it and how we teach kids about recycling things. So immediate goal for Tom is to implement an improved waste management strategy into the 22-23 school year and beyond. He's just trying to kind of find updated approaches. Different companies that service schools. We used to have a company that had such strict requirements for food waste that they wouldn't take it half the time because there was a napkin in it or something else. So he's trying to find different options and alternatives for us for that, so that we can do a better job with our waste management as well. So that's everything that's going on in a nutshell. And I certainly want to say congratulations to all of our NHS inductees last night. It was a great ceremony in the auditorium last night, and it's always a fun one for me. Parents said, "Well, why do you come to this event? You're not the principal anymore." I was like, because the kids run this event. So if you've never been, the kids run the entire show. From the time they walk in, they do the announcements, and they each of the current members write something about the person that they're inducting or they're introducing. So it's very personalized. And kids, it might be a friend, it might be a friend of a friend, but they really get well connected, and it's amazing to see what our kids are doing within their communities. It's unbelievable. Some kids, lists of things they were doing, you wonder if they were really coming to school at all, but it's amazing. Our kids have done some awesome things, even during tough times recently. So congratulations to all the newly inducted members, and that's a great group to be able to drive us into next year. And that is it.
Thank you. All right, questions? Yeah, that was it? Questions for Eric? Anna?
It's not a question about anything you've talked about, but it's something that a parent asked me about, and I think it'd be good to ask here. The Essex Tech placements just came out, and not everyone who applied got in, obviously, and it sounds like there's been a little bit of agitation around that. Do we have a cap that we set? Does Essex Tech set a cap, or is it like an overall, like a college admissions process where there's a set number of seats total and the kids get it? Could you speak publicly as to how Essex Tech made their determination so that parents can hear you talk about it?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a great question because it is kind of one of those unknown factors. We do not have any influence over the process. It's set by the tech. The tech annually looks at their programs, number of seats in their programs, and then opens the door to applicants. I think they had more than 400 kids that are going to be on the waiting list from this freshman class. It was a huge applicant pool. We usually get 3 seats in Hamilton and 3 seats in Wenham. Usually, sometimes that'll vary by 1 depending on what programs have openings. Sometimes 10th grade kids can get in if a 10th grade seat opens up and say automotive, and there's one of our kids in line, next in line, they would be eligible. As you know, there's a fairly lengthy interview process, application process. You have to have good attendance. You have to have no disciplinary issues. They actually had an interview this year, I learned, where they asked kids, why do you want to come? And it's a little more in depth than what they have done in the past. But this year we had 13 kids get accepted. I just actually learned that this morning.
13 from Hamilton and Wenham?
13 from Hamilton and Wenham. I don't know the exact breakdown, but 13. And I believe there are over 20 kids that applied.
And we normally only get 6?
Usually get about 6 or 7
Wow.
usually.
Okay.
So this was the highest, since I've been here, highest number accepted to the tech.
And the seats are set by the tech, not by us?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Except now we're losing an extra 7 kids.
Right. And it's a small class to begin with, so. Yeah, they I don't know if you're familiar with how that works, but the tech schools then take those kids and they actually bill the towns directly and not us. It doesn't go through the school system, it gets billed to the town, so.
Yeah, that part I did know. I was
Yeah.
just, I think parents were wondering, like, who got in and why and the numbers, so.
It's hard to say why, and again, if you asked me 2 years ago, it was very specific to attendance and discipline. This year, the state asked them to change that because it was so strict that kids really should be there, should have been there. We're getting bounced out and bumped out, so they changed a little bit. And I'm happy that there are more kids that are able to go there. I think that it's just a great option for kids to be able to have available to them. So we also some of our kids will apply to like Whittier Votech up in Haverhill. We've actually had that happen as well, where they didn't get into Essex Tech, but they got into Whittier Voc. Not often, but sometimes.
All right. Anybody else have questions? Okay. All right. I don't think we're going to have a lot, but I'll ask on the committee reports. I think we haven't really done much on committees because we're waiting to reconstitute the committees. I will just, I think we've said this already on negotiations. We're in, again, we sort of put it on hold because we're waiting, but I believe we have a date. It's May. We are going to meet again. We have it on the calendar already. On May 16th, negotiations will meet with the custodial union to continue.
Almost there.
We're almost there. We're doing well. We're going to keep going and get the custodial contract worked out. I also did just want to, this is sort of from negotiations, I just want to let the committee know that, the negotiations did a lot of work on the regional agreement, and that in the end, that didn't pan out to be on the warrant for town meeting. But I just want to let you know that that is, our attorney is still doing a little bit of research and work, and that I anticipate we'll bring back more information on that, hopefully soon. Okay, anybody else have any other committee? Okay.
We're going to reorder that next week, right?
Next week, we're going to do that. correct. We're going to just do the things that are listed there today, and then next week we'll do the committees. Okay? All right, I think at this point, Eric, I think it's your show. I'm going to turn the chair over to you,
Okay, thank you.
and we are going to do some reorganization.
We will start the reorganization process. I will take nominations for the chair of the school committee for the next school year. Anna?
I would like to nominate Dana Alera continue on as the chair of the school committee.
Second.
Move vote.
Have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to say, I think we worked really well together as a group, and I think a lot of that has to do with how well Dana did at like coordinating everything this year.
Agreed.
To add to that, one day we were sitting, waiting for, in the negotiations meeting, it was, excuse me, Michelle, Dana and I, and, Michelle and I being the previous chairs, and we really, spoke to Dana and actually told her how great of a job we were doing, because both of us, the years prior, were doing everything that we could to try and, bring the group together and really turn it into a really well-functioning committee, and I just think you did an excellent job, and I would love for you to
I'm actually,
accept the nomination.
Are you willing to accept?
I would be willing to accept.
oh, thank
yes.
goodness. I love the fact that you're not the chair, so we can embarrass you by like publicly praising you, because you're not actually allowed to speak. But I'll just pile on to the Dana Love Fest here, that our committee has been very functional during a very otherwise potentially turbulent time. Superintendent, end of COVID, lots of spicy topics, and you manage it with grace and diplomacy and calm and information. And when we, as your fellow members, have questions or things that come up, you're so responsive and available. And I think it's clear that the committee works really well with you at the helm. You understand Robert's rules for the most part. I think maybe David now is the reigning expert on Robert's rules, but we managed to get through. So I'm glad that you're willing to accept it, because I think the district needs your presence. And I think also, just having been your vice chair, there's such a huge learning curve. And right now we're entering a phase where we need every minute we can squeeze out of it. I know Eric with the MSBA project, like onboarding a new chair is a bad idea right now for a million different reasons, but you're also just crushing it. So the public needs to know that you're crushing it on every level.
I will move to a vote.
Yep.
All in favor of Dana Lara as the chair of Hamilton Wenham Regional School?
You're not going to vote for
Committee?
yourself?
Go for yourself.
Unanimous. And I will hand you back the gavel.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you, Mr. Gabbard.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay. All right, now I'm intimidated. Okay. It's a lot of pressure. Okay, I will now take nominations for vice chair. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Anna Sudzik.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Julia Campbell. Anna, if elected, would you accept that nomination?
As always, I serve at the pleasure of the committee.
Okay. All right. Are there any other
I'm
nominations?
nominating myself.
I just think you guys work well together.
I think so too, yeah.
And you bring two different outlooks, so we tend to see the positions from a 360-degree angle.
Yeah.
Okay, agreed. Okay. All right, we ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor of Anna Sudzik as vice chair? And that is unanimous. And congratulations, Anna. Okay. So I have spoken when I met with both of our new members. I did speak with them about the idea that is certainly not a requirement, but that very often our committee has traditionally offered new people a couple of different roles that are good opportunities to get to get, to get your feet wet and to really dive in and have some responsibility on the committee. And those have often been, again, as Anna just so wisely said, I am, trust the wisdom of the committee, but it has been a tradition that often the secretary and the warrant signer have been jobs that, with support from existing committee members, that newer members have, and I have discussed, and I certainly don't want to put words in either of your mouths, but it sounded like both of you would be open to the idea of doing one of those roles. So I just wanted to sort of
Quick
preface
question,
that.
are they mutually exclusive from being on subcommittees, or?
No, everyone is going to be on at least one subcommittee,
Okay,
and
good.
some people will be on two.
Okay,
In addition
good.
to.
It's
Yes.
other duties as assigned.
Yes,
Got it.
no, that is a great question. So each member will definitely be on one subcommittee, and we will ask a couple of members to be on two. So yes, you will definitely get a subcommittee, absolutely.
Maybe
Yeah.
we could speak to the rules.
Yeah, that
I
would
can
be
speak
great.
to warrant signer. It's actually, I'm kind of sad not to be doing it anymore. I love seeing Vinny every other week, and I love kind of knowing what's going on and looking at the warrants, and I really enjoyed it. It is not a heavy lift at all. I have a flexible schedule, so I could come in pretty much any time, but Vinny is so accessible and open, and he will make time for you to sign the warrants whenever, and it's usually every other week, so it's definitely not a huge, heavy lift.
But it does have to be, I think, Wednesday or maybe Thursday morning because of the payroll schedule.
Exactly. So as long as you coordinate with Vinny, like if I'm out of town or he's out of town, like we just coordinate at the start of the week and say, this is when it can get done. But it's usually very flexible, and it's never something where he's texting me at, 3 p.m. and saying, get over here at 4, It's usually me being like, oh crap, I forgot, and now I have to get over there at 4. So I would say it's been a pleasure to work with Vinny on that.
And it is an opportunity just to get into central office.
Exactly.
And sort of just see people and.
Right, and actually getting into the day-to-day bills.
The weeds of the actual bills and the checks, and then you see whatever, it's just, yeah.
The ice cream company we buy the
Exactly,
milk from.
yeah.
But it's also a great way to learn where the piles of money come from, the things that are paid from certain accounts, and from a budget standpoint, it's fascinating to see what line items actually come through, and it's not like you really can object
That's
to
right.
them.
It's where like the rubber hits the road.
It
Like,
is. It's not like you're really gonna be like, oh, I refuse to pay this invoice for office supplies. Like, I mean, I guess you could refuse to sign it, but
It did used to come with a fancier title, though. Right, that used to be assistant treasurer. And then it ended after me. So, same exact thing.
so you're saying the
But then we
permission.
I would've
realized
loved that title.
God forbid we needed to utilize the assistant treasurer. I was completely unqualified for that.
So you're saying the position got demoted after you.
Jen, would you like to talk a little bit about the secretary role?
So I don't find the secretary role a huge lift, but I did find that I had to be very organized. There's a lot of paperwork, or at least a fair amount of paperwork, and it's really easy to get lose a piece of paperwork that you shouldn't lose, and then have to go back to your notes and reconstruct. But Mahala makes it pretty easy, and yeah, I mean it's a great way to remember what we talked about and kind of refresh your mind definitely before the next meeting. So that was helpful for me.
Right.
And you have to make motions on the fly sometimes.
That is true.
I remember when I'm vice secretary, once in a while, having to make motions. You always seem to miss the meetings where it's like the lot of numbers.
Right, on the long.
In the
Just one meeting.
Just
know.
recently, Julia had to read that.
You only missed one.
The thing that was this long.
It was literally that long.
Well, and to be clear,
And
the
Dave was laughing at me, and it was making me
it was-
nervous.
The secretary makes most of the motions, as you say, just for regularity, but if there's a particular topic that Jen's not comfortable or is not clear on, or, if someone is sort of taking ownership of something, anyone can always make a motion. As I said, I could move hypothetically, to say we only serve rutabaga in the cafeteria. You can move anything, so it's not always all on the secretary.
Please don't.
Please don't. All right, so I guess, I don't know if either of you have any questions, or if we're ready for someone to, I would be ready for a nomination.
Just one comment. I mean, I've got easy access to come to Bucher on a regular basis, if that makes it any easier.
You're right close by to Bucher, is what you're
I'm
saying.
close by.
You're
I
here.
come here several days to pick up Reno.
Okay.
So
All right. You're
it's-
already coming and going from Bucher.
Yes, that makes that part of it a light lift.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful information. All right, great. All right, do we have a nomination maybe for secretary?
So I nominate Amy Kuhnberger for secretary and David Franco for warrant officer.
All right. All right.
Second.
Second by Anna Cizik. I'm going to ask both of you whether you'd be willing to accept that nomination.
I accept.
Amy, David?
I accept.
Okay,
yes.
so everyone is clear that do we have any different nominations? Any other nominations?
Do we need an alternate warrant signer?
We do need, we
We'll do that
actually,
later?
well, we'll do that in a
Okay.
second, but yes. And we also need we also need a vice secretary.
secretary.
Fill in the wait.
What was that?
We'll finish
In a
this.
minute, okay. Okay, all right, is there any more discussion? All right, so everyone's clear? All right. All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous. All right, and so congratulations, Amy, on being our new secretary, and I am certain that Jen will be happy to work with you, and congratulations, David, on being our
I'm
new.
just throwing you in the
She looks
deep
very happy.
Yep. And I'm thinking Julia will be willing to help you get
Oh, yeah.
settled in the job. Okay, great.
All I was going to say is we have had sort of a vice secretary just to fill in
Yeah.
before, and the warrant signer. We
Yes.
have nominated a couple at times. We've also nominated
I
like, a
think,
list.
right, I
before.
actually think so I want to say we definitely need, I think we need an assistant secretary just for when someone's not able to be here. And then I actually believe, David, that last time we actually authorized any member of the committee, if need be, to sign the warrants, because we don't want to be in a situation
Right.
where no one can sign
Yeah,
it.
so the idea is
Yeah.
just in case everyone happens to be out of town, except Julia.
Right.
Right.
Right, so.
Right. I believe that we did that last time. So maybe we should start with assistant secretary.
I can throw my hat in the ring for that.
Okay, do I have anyone willing to nominate?
I nominate Julia Campbell as assistant secretary.
This what's a title?
Sorry, vice secretary, I
I
think.
think it's assistant
Vice
secretary.
I think she wants to be the vice secretary, but
Excellent. She does have experience. All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous. And congratulations, Julia. And then, do we want, I do believe you're right that maybe last time we did sort of designate someone to be the immediate backup, and then maybe we voted just to have,
I think I might have been the immediate backup because I had done it prior, potentially,
sure.
but Amanda doesn't.
'Cause
I like the idea of having it be any one of us, though, because
Yeah,
at this
it can
point,
be
so many of us have signed them.
I think
so-
we can do both. We can get a backup, and then we can authorize everyone. All right, was that you jumping in to say that you?
That was not, I was just saying how it had happened before. I'm typically not available Wednesday. I'm not really that available during the week at all, so
Okay.
I'm not a good person to be the backup.
Okay, are you, because I am available, I could do that, or,
I'm also really flexible during the week.
okay, well,
See?
all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and nominate you, Amy.
Let's give Dave our cell phone numbers and
Yeah,
we'll be available.
was that your second there? You were seconding?
That's my second.
All right. All those in favor of Amy as the, I guess, backup warrant signer? All right, and that's unanimous. And then I think, David, you want to make a stab at the motion for everybody?
I move that all members of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee could be active warrant signers should the need arise.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Amy Kuhnberger. All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, and the motion passes. I think we did everything. So next time, we will, do you have a question?
Only if you're done. Sorry.
Next time, we will do the committees. It would be helpful if you really did some thinking about the 3 existing committees and what you want to do. David?
So before we get into that, I'm really thinking we should break up capital and finance this year. I think between the turf project and the school project, there's going to be a much bigger lift, whereas before it was sort of a secondary thing. I think it's a primary thing this year. And then I think a more budget-based finance.
So, maybe what we can do, David, is we could put that on the agenda, have a discussion about that, and then.
I was sort of thinking we're at the future topics, so.
Huh?
That's why I was-
Yeah, no, but that's, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying we can put it all on one agenda. We could do that, have that conversation.
Yep.
And then,
Yeah, no, that's why I want to bring it up, because
Yeah.
I think that as people are sort of thinking about where they want to sit, it's actually 3, we could have as many subcommittees as we want. We used to have a public info marketing subcommittee before, that just has fallen off the wayside. So it's not just limited to the 3, but I definitely think we should move to the 4, because I think those are 2 major lifts.
and you're envisioning that it's because one is really going to be, continue to be sort of budget-based, and the other is.
Projects and
Yeah,
then one for
well, yeah,
day-to-day.
it's operating and capital.
Yeah.
I mean, just like.
But I'm just saying, you're thinking that the year is going to just be different than, because of all the project.
Yeah,
moving
I mean, I do, because I think that we need to be looking at.
So yeah.
So with a subcommittee that's just looking at, our operating, crunching our numbers, and then another one just coordinating all the efforts of the different, there's going to be a school building subcommittee, there's going to be, this turf field subcommittee, this private group that's a subcommittee, and just sort of a centralized subcommittee for us that can then sort of do a bunch of the dirty work and then bring it back to the board.
So I'm thinking we can put that on the agenda, and I can talk to Eric about, I would be interested in the administration's thoughts on how, what you see in terms of how those might be best aligned.
Can we
I mean,
also,
it might not even be a subcommittee that meets every month,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
We don't
Right.
need to
No, I hear what you're
meet 3
saying.
times
Yep.
during the year, but.
I think it's important for people to understand that the fiscal realities of what we do are going to get beyond just the budget.
Yep.
There are bigger fish coming at us, if you will, that will need some work kind of out before we bring it to the committee, and there are some other things that will need some push, both in and from the community. So I think that would probably be a good idea to at least spread that work out a little bit, because as we found this year, we tend to get stuck because there are so many things coming at you at once, and if we can spread the work out, I think it might benefit everybody. But we can.
if we're talking about new committees, it might be a good idea to have a community communications group, just because I think we've all learned over the last 2 years exactly how important it is that the community knows what we're doing, when we're doing it, and why we're doing it.
So I actually have not necessarily, I do have that topic penciled in. I believe I have it penciled in for the 19th.
Okay.
But I didn't specifically frame it as, shall we have a committee, though we might decide to have a committee, but that topic is already penciled in.
Yep.
And we don't just be, in other words, if we create, let's say on the 5th, next time, let's say we create 4 committees, there's nothing that prevents us from creating another committee in
Anytime.
July, or consolidating, or, so, okay.
And I do think there used to be, as Dave was saying, there used to be a communications subcommittee of that kind.
I'll tell you all the pros and cons. So.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay. Are you comfortable, though, with
I'm
the 19th?
fine with that.
Okay. Okay.
Are you still taking topics for future
Sure.
meetings? I would like to repeat my request that sometime on one of the May meetings that we talk about Pride progress flags.
I'm sorry, I actually should have updated you that. I have that also penciled in for the 19th.
Perfect, thank you.
It's almost like somebody knew they were getting nominated again.
Did you say?
It sounds like somebody knew they were getting nominated again.
Who could that be?
Very organized.
It wouldn't have been good to just leave it
Get it
blank.
penciled into September.
David?
Well, I'd like to suggest two subcommittees that, at least for consideration, as we go to. One would be embrace all the health and safety issues.
Say it again? The what?
All of the health and safety issues.
Okay.
And the other one would be special ed, which I think has got a lot of complexity and a lot of communal unhappiness for a variety of reasons.
Okay. So I might ask that we do something similar to what I just said to Jen, is that we might start with the committees that we know at our next meeting, and then we can put those topics on a future meeting to be discussed. Does that feel comfortable to you?
Yeah, I guess my sensitivity on the health and safety one is that it's a continually hot topic, and we're seeing a major communal rise in case rates and discord between the Boston public schools and some of the other schools. Some of the towns have got a mask mandate, some haven't. There doesn't seem to me to be yet completely objective criteria for what kind of actions we can and cannot take. So I just think it needs focus. I'm not saying we're doing anything wrong. There may be some additional things we could be doing right. And the only question is who is going to have the bandwidth
Okay.
to study that.
So I think
and
we
be
can put that,
timely.
we can put that on as a topic as to how to address those concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Because there was a COVID committee at one point.
So we did, yes, so at the beginning, we did create, it was actually not a subcommittee of the school committee. It was actually called the COVID response team, and it had, and it was actually, I mean, I think that we certainly could, if need be, we could call the COVID response team back together, but it consisted, we had members of the HWEA, we had a representative from the school committee, we had our
nurses
public
were there.
health nurses, we had Board of Health representation, and I'm sure I'm not naming everyone, but that was specifically a COVID response team, which was doing something similar to what you're talking about. But we're just really in topics for future meetings, so I will put that on.
Thank you.
Okay. Do other people have anything else? Yep, Derek.
This has nothing to do with topics or agenda, so I want to make sure.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I do have the one thing, I don't know if you have it penciled in, the Little League banner.
Oh, so yeah, you had mentioned advertising at, but I have not yet received
Because they're
anything.
waiting for us to put it on we want to schedule it, and then
So,
Craig, it might have been actually Craig and Tom that I spoke with. We're just looking for a time to talk about it.
so I just want to make sure I understand, because you're not talking about a specific request for, like, they want to hang banners on such and such a day. You're talking about a general conversation regarding advertising?
Well, the general conversation needs to be had. That's probably more of a policy thing. But like last year at softball, we hung banners up on the fence.
Yeah.
So they're looking to do that again. I don't know if you guys have been looking.
I guess I was
around town.
anticipating if they were going to do that they were going to file a memo as they have.
I think they were thinking that, Tim Fazio, as the president of the league, spoke to me about putting it on here and putting it on the agenda, that he was doing that. So what's the process you would like to see? Have him emailing you?
Yeah.
Or
If
you?
let's do this. Let's have Tim send me a memo.
Okay.
And we can
request
put it on,
with
yeah.
his request.
Yep.
I'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Either the next
Yep.
one or.
Fine.
Yeah,
we have
and
room
then
on
they can
both.
just model it basically after, like, what you're talking about. They can just model the memo after, just exactly what they want, the dates, what they're looking for.
Yeah, all right, no problem.
All right. thank you, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I really was just waiting.
Because I was like, shit, I'm like, there was something I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, no, I
I got an
really,
email from him today, and I thought that's what it was. I was like, oh, no.
yeah, no, I was waiting.
Chin's
yeah.
a great guy. He wouldn't like bother you if he asked me already.
Yeah. So, okay, no, I'm glad you said that, because we would not have done that.
I just have a quick question. I might have missed
Yep.
it. So are we reorganizing the committees at the next meeting or the
Yeah.
19th?
The next meeting,
Okay.
the 5th.
week.
Yep, the 5th.
And if I will not be
You can
here,
send,
can I send you a request
please
as to
send-
the
yes,
committees I would like to be
Please
on?
send an email with your
Okay.
preferred committees, and,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
I don't want to be just put on a committee.
We're going to put you on all the
Yeah, I know.
committees, and we're going to make sure
That's
that
what I'm
you're,
worried will happen.
5 days a week, every other week.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. All right, so Julia wants to be on everything.
she wants to be the chair. I thought I heard her say
Chair
she's
of
the chair of
everything.
every committee.
Okay,
And the secretary.
excellent. All right.
I move that we,
Oh.
sorry.
Sorry. One important piece, I did not turn the page on my report.
Uh-oh.
I turned 2 pages, but not the third one. So I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to all of our administrative assistants. Wednesday was Administrative Assistants Day. Across the district, the people in those positions in our district are the lifeblood. They do things, find things, get things done, and deal with the public and all those things that are coming out our buildings 100 miles an hour every day. So I want to thank all of our administrative assistants. And then just let everybody know that next week is Teacher Appreciation Week. So we would invite people to send a little note to your teacher or teachers to thank them, and I'm sure that would make their day. And I think it's important to note that our teachers are still really working above and beyond. It's still not easy for teachers, even though we're back in school. There are still a lot of pressures in the position and the kind of the public facing things that are coming at teachers, and the things that they deal with in the classroom, and some of that dysregulation is still going on. Their job is hard. So I just want to make sure to recognize all of our teachers publicly, and I will do it again next week because I think it's that important. But take a moment, jot a note down to your teacher, teacher or teachers, or have your kids write a note. I think it's a great opportunity to make our connections and really recognize the work that they've been doing and continue to do. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's important. And important to remember that, these are still really difficult times, and it's much appreciated. Okay.
I move that we adjourn at 8:22 p.m.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Jen
For
Carr.
the record, I think it's the first time I personally have ever moved to adjourn.
Michelle
I was
Bailey.
looking for Michelle Bailey.
I know.
All right. Is there any discussion?
No.
All those in favor? All right, and we are adjourned.
Gavel it.
Lock
Oh.
it down.
Gavel it.
whatever. There we go.